Bru McCoy, I've done a little bit of digging, and I've talked to some people around the game of football, including NFL scouts and some coaches. And I think that you're going to see defenses allow Bru McCoy to get open early because I think they're going to test and see how that leg is doing. Now, I think the leg is going to be fine. And then I think by the time the games get significant, and really you probably see enough for that Chattanooga tape, you're going to start to see Bru McCoy dictate coverage, which is the definition of a number one receiver. It's not just the guy who catches the most passes. So I'm telling you, I'm predicting that he'll be back to form and a number one receiver that will dictate coverage. That's what got Jalen Hyatt so open, as Caleb pointed out early in the show. So if they rotate everybody over, if Bru McCoy is going against 2 or 3 and other guys are going against 1, other than Bru, who will be the Vols' most productive receiver? Now, I think Chris Brazzell, and I'm going to tell you why, but I thought at our 3:45 a.m. production meeting that Caleb would just naturally agree with me, which he never does. So I don't know why the hell I thought that, but he said, no, I don't think that's it. Who do you think it might be if it's not Chris Brazzell?
So if it's not going to be Chris Brazzell, and I'm not so sure it will be, I'm going to go with a young man by the name of Squirrel White.
Can't argue with Squirrel White.
We're going to see total white domination at receiver this year, guys.
He's going to do it the white way, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put on this. I want to put on our YouTube poll right now. Other than Bru, who will be the Vols' most productive receiver? Chris Brazzell and Squirrel White have to be there. I think Chaz Nimrod is going to be guy number 1 off the bench, but he really can't compete. So help me round out the top 4. And I've said receiver, so we technically could include Dylan Sampson, but he's going to have a lot of catches. I don't think he'll have the yards as Brazzell or Bru or White. So that's kind of cheating the question a little bit. So Brazzell, White, would you have Nimrod on there?
Okay, so no, because I know Chaz Nimrod's been making waves, but I just believe too much in Mike Matthews for Nimrod to be able to work his way into the starting lineup. I know that's crazy, but I think Mike Matthews is like borderline Randy Moss with this team.
Okay, that's the opposite of what we're hearing. So Caleb is predicting forward. So do you want me to put Mike Matthews or put other?
You know what? Okay, so we're talking Squirrel. Who are the ones you named again? Let's go through it again.
Brazzell, White, Squirrel, Nimrod.
Brazzell, White, and Nimrod. Let's do other. Let's do other instead of Nimrod and give them a chance to add.
I don't think it's going to be Matthews, but I think Matthews is going to have a special year in 2025. And I think he'll turn in some plays that you'd be kind of like, whoa, what's pretty insane. Tennessee's wide receiver group. Now, here's why I think it'll be Brazzell in exactly 15 seconds, brought to you by our friends at Varner Ford.
Limited 4x4, $67,950. 2017 Ford F-150 Raptor SVT, $41,950. 2023 Ford Escape ST line, $28,940. Varner Ford, built for the game.
Okay, couple things. Seen some practice tape, seen a decent amount of practice in which Brazzell has won one-on-one battles. This is a big guy. This is a big physical receiver, Caleb, and if you can pull up his size specifically, this is what a couple of players had to say about. Let me pull up the. Yes, there's the Chris Brazzell story. Sorry, it's on offthehooksports.com. Wrote it this morning. 6'5", 200 pounds. He is winning one-on-one battles, and I think that. You try to find a place to put him as the media, as could he be a slot guy, but he's a natural outside receiver. And I think with Squirrel White as a little jitterbug in the middle, that you can have an incredible top three. And I'm not just saying good, an incredible top three with Chris Brazzell II in there. He said about him and Nico, he said, quote, me and Nico have a good relationship. It's more of the plays on my end, being able to know my assignment, play fast versus thinking before the play and not being as decisive during the play. And his physicality is absolutely through the roof. He says it comes from within you. If you want to block, then you can block. If you don't want to block, then you probably are going to not be able to block. It's a mindset thing, which you just said yesterday, referring to Tennessee's running backs. I like everything this guy said. I like his demeanor. I like what I hear about him in private conversations. I'm not ruling out that Chris Brazzell, when it's all said and done, could be as good as Bru McCoy.
He seems like he has the build of Bru McCoy. First, one big question that gets on my nerves. Why is he Chris Brazzell II and not Chris Brazzell Jr.? I'm sorry.
I'm the second, so you can't go there.
Why are you guys? It's Junior. It's a Junior.
I didn't want to be Junior. My dad didn't want to be Junior. Nobody wanted to be. So I'm the second.
Okay, very pretentious. Oh, I'm the second. Yes. Okay, whatever. That's my only pet peeve with you and Chris Brazzell. Okay, and I'm named after a terrible human being, John C. Calhoun, so I can say that. But okay, so not named after him, just happened to share his name. Anyways, Chris Brazzell, I always felt was that physical type of receiver that would have great hands. Now, my question was always the speed, but you're saying the speed is there. That's what they're saying?
I think it's there. I've seen enough in practice film that I think he can. I don't think
he sounds like a clone of Bru McCoy.
I think they're very similar.
Wow. Which is different from a Mike Matthews, who I believe in, because Mike Matthews is more of an athletic receiver, right? Like a fluid guy that would just torch you down the sidelines. But also, you know what I mean? Mike Matthews is, again, I drew Randy Moss comparisons to Mike Matthews, but that's different than, okay, on the highest levels, there is a Randy Moss, and then there's an Andre Johnson, right? And Andre Johnson is a much more physical receiver,
talent-wise, because I know I'm older than you. So you're probably going to sell Jerry Rice short a little bit, but I think that,
Jerry Rice, I would say.
Well, I think they're more talented, but I think these two guys are well-rounded. I'm not comparing them to Jerry Rice, but I don't think they're necessarily uber. Randy Moss is a guy that could go over the top and make crazy plays. I don't know that they're that, but if you want to compare them to Jerry Rice as a well-rounded receiver, I can do that.
See, I was going to go like more modern because of the size. Somebody
or
like
Irvin.
Michael
Irvin.
See, I thought Michael Irvin was kind of Randy Moss before Randy Moss, though, wasn't he? Wasn't he the athletically gifted, go over the top, make plays guy?
Boy, not to that level.
Not to the Moss degree, but
I would love to stand up for my guy Mike, but not to that.
I'm
level.
thinking more on the level of maybe of not just Andre Johnson, but a Larry Fitzgerald, too. Larry Fitzgerald was a very physically gifted receiver, physically imposing, who was well-rounded. You're right. I'm saying Mike Matthews is closer to the Randy Moss style. Not that he's Randy Moss, but closer to the Randy Moss style, whereas Brazzell and Bru are both of, you're right, the Andre Johnson. I'm not going Jerry Rice because I don't think Jerry Rice ever dictated coverage in his life. There, I said it. I don't think people change their defensive schemes because of getting Jerry Rice in the passing game. I think it would have been the same if any other receiver was in that passing game for the 49ers. Completely
disagree. In Tennessee Junior, there's nothing wrong with being a junior. We love you. There's nothing wrong with being a junior. That's right, Caleb. What's wrong?
Well, the only other thing I wanted to ask is, but what you're saying is, if he's a clone of Bru McCoy, do you really start those two together? Because don't you want a change of pace with your other wideout?
No, I think you start them. I think they tried to get fancy last year, and you brought this up a couple of days ago, and I mulled it around and asked around, and I think they got a little fancy with putting Dante Thornton at slot. I mean,
I thought so too.
Look at Dante Thornton's body. Well, we projected him there, so don't we deserve some of the blame?
Yeah, I said Dante Thornton going to this offense was like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors when they already had the best offense in the NBA.
Yeah, but we also projected him at the slot. Did we make a huge mistake? Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. It's Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off. HOOK for 10% off. I mean, Dante Thornton is a 6'4" guy. Squirrel White is a sub 6 foot guy. Just football 101 tells me that Thornton's the outside receiver and White's the inside. I'm really having trouble looking back at it and seeing how the media got so sideways on that.
Do we think the issue is that, and this is just a question, do you think Dante Thornton's just not a great route runner? Like, he's just straight line speed?
Well, if so, then he would be an outside receiver as well.
Yeah, he would. He would. You got to run routes well in the slot, particularly in this system. Now you still have to make a certain read. I mean, this is where Jalin Hyatt was superb, because the bear coverage is actually easier on the outside than it is for the slot guy. The slot guy actually has to make the right read, and if they do, they are so wide open, right? And if they don't, they're nowhere to, you can't get them the ball. And Jalin Hyatt was superb at that. I think that we'll see. I think Squirrel White can do it, but it's funny that we didn't mention Dante Thornton as one of the guys who could lead this team in receiving.
That is weird. I think he's a complimentary receiver. You want to hear something crazy? I thought Randy Moss was just a long strike, just go deep and get open, kind of like Alvin Harper, who played at Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And then after about 2 years in the NFL, I was like, he can do everything. So,
yeah,
I mean, but Dante Thornton feels like that guy who could probably run a streak and get open most of the time, or make the grab like he did when he got hurt. But I would be surprised if he's one of Tennessee's top 3 productive receivers. So other than Bru, who will be the Vols' most productive receiver, we will have the updated poll results for you, brought to you by Quality Tire Pros. The Eberle family has been serving Chattanooga's community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brakes, alignments, oil changes, and more, all work covered by nationwide warranty. Cherokee Blvd or online at qualitytirepros.com, qualitytirepros.com. Tell Bo that Off the Hook Sports said, hey, Bo. That's Cherokee, qualitytirepros.com. Brazzell leads with 64% of the vote, White 36% of the vote, other than Bru, who will be the Vols' most productive receiver. Nimrod not with a vote, and I can understand that, but no other. So is this just a 2-horse race? I tend to agree with the voters. I think it's a 2-horse race, barring injury.
Yeah, I think it's a 2-horse race. I think it's Squirrel White or Chris Brazzell. I think it's a 1-horse race, though. If Bru McCoy's not leading the team in receiving, guys, it's going to be Squirrel White. It's going to be Squirrel White. Squirrel White led the team in receiving last year, and Jalin Hyatt led him in receiving the year before. So it's been the slot guy 2 years in a row. It's either the number 1 wideout or the slot guy in this system. So if it's not Bru, either he's not the number 1 wideout, or Squirrel White's leading the team in receiving.
We had a question about Nathan Leacock. I think he continues to work. I think that he needs to make a major step this year, or the train's going to leave the station without him. Is that fair?
That's totally fair.
Now, Leacock is doing his work, because we wrote he got 12 to 13,000 footballs in the offseason, has completely changed his body. That tells me 2 things. 1, that he's got the right attitude, but 2, that he had to do a lot of that work. So he may not be a guy who has an impact, because it sounds like he didn't get the work done in year 1. So he's doing it now. But he was a true freshman last year for Tennessee. He only played in 1 game. He's a redshirt freshman now. I would expect good things out of him. I don't know that I would expect great things out of him, and I don't know that I would expect them anytime soon.